You're listening to Nostalgia Club, the podcast where we look back on our favorite childhood stories and revisit them as adults. At least one of us hasn't read or watched these series, so we also get a first-timer's opinion. Spoiler alert, we will be discussing storylines and future events beyond the first books and episodes, so proceed with caution. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Victoria, and today, as always, I am joined by...
Jino!
I was waiting for the and.
Oh.
You just had this big open-mouthed smile on your face, like, and Michael. It's me and Michael.
Jino and a sharp exhale.
And Michael, who can't speak today. No, just kidding. The real person who can't speak today is me, because I still have, I got stitches out of my mouth this morning. So if you listened to our previous episode and you were annoyed by the weird way that I'm talking, don't listen to this one. No.
That's right, listeners. We record these multiple episodes a day, and we don't listen to your feedback.
Now like and subscribe.
Today, we are talking about a graphic novel series, which is very near and dear to my heart, called Amulet. It's written by Kazuki Buishi, and it follows the story of a young girl named Emily who moves into her, I think it's her uncle. Ooh, I already get
Isn't it like great-grandfather? Or like...
Yeah, her great-grandfather's house.
An old man's house.
In the woods.
And she discovers this amulet that she puts on and quickly realizes it gives her magical powers. Then the rest of the story is following her journey of being called to be this hero that she really didn't ask to be. She later finds out later in the series that there's a lot of hopes riding on her shoulders. There's a curse that comes with this amulet, which kind of sucks because honestly, she just put it on because it looked nice. So I read this when I was young. It's still ongoing, actually. There's 8 books currently out, and the 9th one is coming out next year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Or when will the episode come out?
It'll probably come out in 2022, but in case it doesn't, go read the 9th book of Amulet.
Well,
it's great.
The 9th book will come out sometime in 2023.
Okay, cool.
The 9th book will come out in the future.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening to this like years after it was recorded, in which case...
Hi, Mom.
But Jino and Michael have never read it. So, yeah, why don't we start out with getting kind of your impressions of the first 2 books that you read?
Well, I realized that I actually recognize the little pink robot bunny character.
Ah, Misket.
Oh.
I've seen Misket around a lot of places as a kid. I think a lot of my friends read Amulet. And I just never picked up on it because...
So tell your friends to listen to this episode.
Because as soon as I saw that character out, I had a wave of memories like, I know you. But also I didn't because I've never read this series.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, we did not read necessarily the first book of Amulet. We listened to it.
The first half, at least.
The first half. We listened/watched it. We listened/watched it? What did I say? What am I doing?
We watched it.
We watched it on YouTube. There's this really great voice actress who did like an audio.
Yeah, there's like a few different voice performers from this like rendition of the Amulet book where like the pictures of the frames of the graphic novel.
It's like a motion comic dub.
Yeah, and there's one real standout like voice performer.
Yeah.
This actress, you may or may not have heard of her. She's a real like undiscovered, like real diamond in the rough of just like not yet like in the huge like spotlight, but just begging to rocket to the peaks of stardom.
Gosh.
Yeah, and you know what? She performs the same character at different points in her life, and you can really feel, the innocence of a child, and then the trauma of a child, and then the more trauma of the child.
It's really something. I don't know, Jino, I don't know if you had heard of her before. I was taken completely aback.
Okay, this bit is going on too long.
It's Victoria. It's Victoria.
It's Victoria.
Victoria plays the lead character, Emily.
Okay, so the backstory, like I said, I was a huge fan of these books as a kid. every time I went to the library and it was available, I would grab it again. Once I got a little bit older, I was like, oh, I kind of want to read it out loud to myself. Kind of like how audiobook readers do, where they do different voices for the characters and whatnot. And so I would read the Amulet books out loud to myself, and I would play the different characters. So I'd have a different voice for Navin, who's the younger brother, and for Miskit and the mom and all these other characters. And it was really fun. It was just like a good way for me to enjoy the story in a different way. And also, I guess, like, because I kind of wanted to act or something, I was like, I can practice my voice acting through reading this book. Flash forward a few years, side backstory to this backstory. I did do a little bit of like voice acting, I guess, on YouTube, where people would be like, hey, we need a voice actor for this project. And I'd be like, hey, I will record things on my phone and send it in as an audition. This was like a big thing when I was in high school. Near the end of high school, there was, I think it was a casting call that I saw that was for the Amulet books. And I was like, dude, I love Amulet. And also, I've been growing up reading these characters' voices. And so I auditioned for Emily, who's the main character, and I got the role, which was super cool. It was like kind of like a dream come true role to play this character. So yes, there is a motion comic dub out there on the internet. It's not on YouTube because it got taken down, but it is on, I think, Daily Motion. There's like a YouTube video that will redirect you to the video.
They're pretty popular. There's hundreds of thousands of plays on these videos.
The person who made the videos did a really great job with the editing and the sound design. It was actually one of my first glimpses of what cool things you could do with sound design just in audio. Because obviously there is the visuals of the graphic novel, but this person added a lot of extra elements with music, with sound effects. So it was pretty cool as a high schooler to be like, look, it's me in a video. But yes, Jino and Michael did watch it because I let it slip that I did this role.
That's the kind of thing I always really, really wanted to do as a kid in high school, is those kinds of collaborative online projects. But I was too much of a coward to reach out to anyone on the internet. How could I?
I also really wanted to play Emily in Amulet. But I don't think I nailed it. I made a very strong choice. I decided to perform her like this. And I guess it just wasn't.
Michael's like, this is when I revealed that I also auditioned for Amulet.
No, but Victoria does a very good job.
Yes.
And it's a great series. It's really fun to read, and the mysteries keep growing.
Yeah. We read, Jino and I read the first 2 books.
Yes.
Victoria was very funny because even today she was like, you know, I probably should have had you read like the first like 3 books. But then, you would actually have had to like read the first like 4 books because that's when the stuff really starts. Well, if you read the first 5 books.
It just snowballs because basically the first 2 books are you get the introduction to Emily and the amulet and its powers. The amulet has a voice. It's kind of creepy. It speaks to Emily in her dreams and also sometimes when she's awake. Other people can't hear the voice. It's like exclusively for what are called the stone keepers, which Emily becomes a stone keeper when she gets this amulet. There's this voice that talks to them. And we learn more about the voice later on, which is kind of what they get into in books 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. Without spoiling too much, because I hope you guys will continue to read the series. It's not very long to read. I guess kind of a brief summary of the first 2 books. Book 1 is when Emily was really young, her father passed away in a car accident. And since then, Emily has become really reclusive, kind of like withdrawn. And so her mom takes Emily and her younger brother Navin to the countryside, kind of like, let's start a new life for ourselves, away from this family trauma that we've all experienced.
Really quick, is Navin short for anything? Or is it just Navin?
It's just Navin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
It's actually long for Vin. That's a bad joke. Cut that out.
So Emily gets a hold of her great-grandfather's amulet, and she and Navin go to the basement where there's this monster that attacks the house.
The arachnopod.
Yeah. It escalates pretty quickly from there. Their mom gets sucked in by this arachnopod and kidnapped, and so they run after her. Eventually, they get her back, but their mom has been poisoned by the arachnopod. So they take their mom back to their great-grandfather's house. Oh my gosh. There's so many things that I'm missing.
No, you're right. It's the great-grandfather's house.
It's like a tower kind of a thing?
Yeah.
So
No. It's a house.
Yeah,
it's like
it's a house.
big robot.
Yeah, so they go to this house, and it turns out the house is also a robot. I'm doing a really bad job of summarizing this.
There's a lot of stuff
There's
in
a lot
here.
of stuff. It's like so much happens in the first 2 books, honestly.
And Prince Zuko is there, and he
Yeah.
eats a guy.
Well, no, he's a small animal.
Hey, small animals can be guys.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
Emily,
It's a very different implication to say that Prince Zuko eats a guy versus he picks up a small slug with, granted, very expressive eye stalks.
That small slug had hopes and dreams. And dark elf Prince Zuko just ate him.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
elves in here.
Yes.
We're jumping ahead.
yeah, we are jumping around a lot.
Emily goes to her grandfather's robot house.
Yes, Emily's grandfather is named Silas Sharnan.
Or great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather,
my bad.
sorry. Her great-grandfather is named Silas Sharnan, and he was also a stonekeeper. It turns out he's still alive. He's just in this house, like, on life support. And he manages to stick around long enough to tell Emily that she's going to save the world and
No pressure, kid.
die. Silas was also, like, an inventor, so he has a lot of robot companions, which is Misket, the pink bunny robot. And there's also Cogsley, who's kind of like the Lumiere of the Amulet world. I don't know why I associate him. I think it's because of the shape. He has like a long like head, kind of like a candelabra and whatnot.
Is that Cogsley or is that...
He's like the gold brown one who's always sweating.
Yeah.
He's a sweating robot.
Yeah.
Who's the grumpy robot then?
The red grumpy one?
Yeah. Wait, I'm good.
There's 2.
There's 2. So Misket is the pink bunny, and then the second one is like the red and
Okay, then
yellow
there's
one.
3. Because there's a red one. Are they the same?
No. There's like a red and kind of burnished gray.
Big eyebrows.
Yeah,
grumpy.
who helps Navin pilot the robot house.
And then there's a second very stressed out robot who's
Yeah.
always sweating.
Who's always sweating.
And he's
Maury.
nervous.
I think
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. They do look really similar, so I got them slightly confused in my head.
I don't remember any of their names.
I'm
Sorry.
amazed I was able to remember.
I just
Yeah.
recognize their
Okay,
body
so
shape.
Maury is the one who's all gold, like burnt gold, and he sweats a lot. And then there's Cogsley, who's the one with the angry red eyebrows.
Yes.
Yes.
He's like
and there's
brain
also
red.
there's like a trash can robot named Theodore. And there's also
A vacuum?
there's a vacuum robot. The vacuum robot is cute.
I really like the vacuum robot.
Yeah.
I really want like a Roomba who's also a dog. That would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be so handy
Yes.
and adorable. And then there's Bottle,
Yeah.
who's the tallest, bulkiest robot. And I really like because he's tall and bulky and his name is Bottle. That's all I get from him.
He's stoic shaped.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's
guess.
not good. I'm cut that out.
Listen to our How to Train Your Dragon episode for context on this sick Nostalgia Club reference. Now, back to the episode. As seen in issue 23. Anyway.
So they meet all these cool robots. Emily is told that she's going to save the land of Eladia, which is the name of this world that she has stumbled into, basically.
Yeah, Emily and Navin end up when they end up chasing after the arachnopod that took their mom. I'm trying to remember. They go through like some kind of wild portal, don't they?
Yeah. So they've passed on from their real world into the land of Eladia.
The arachnopod did that on purpose. Like it had an intention, right?
So the arachnopod was sent by the Elf King.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Elf King is basically like the Sauron of Eladia. He's taken over. Long ago, the land of Eladia was actually ruled and governed by a council of stonekeepers. Some of these stonekeepers were corrupted by their stones because, again, the stone has like this voice thing going on and the power can very easily corrupt. So some of them became corrupted. They turned into giant, scary stonekeeper monsters. In the aftermath of the battle, one of the stonekeepers was left alive, and that stonekeeper was the Elf King, or grew up to be the Elf King. So now in the world that Emily enters into, it's already taken over by the Elf King. They have guards stationed in every town, every city, and so everyone is kind of waiting for Emily, and they think that she's going to be the one to save them from the Elf King.
It's an interesting strategy for political governance when your entire political body could be corrupted at any moment by these magical stones that hang around their neck.
Yes.
Jewelry is a powerful motivator, some consider to be unnatural. Loose Star Wars reference. Anyway.
Basically, the Elf King sent the arachnopod to kidnap the next Stonekeeper. And it kidnapped the mom thinking that she would be the Stonekeeper because
she was supposed to be the next one.
Like,
yeah.
she's still a descendant, so it could have passed on to her. But because Emily picked the amulet up first, it chose her.
The arachnopod designs are really cool, too.
Yeah. The creatures and character designs in this world are awesome.
Yeah.
The locations also, like, there are full-page spreads of the places that they go to, and it's, like, the amount of detail. You could just sit there and look at just those pages and like get the little details of like the towns that they visit and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. For those of you listening, the arachnopod looks like if the magic school bus had been consumed by like a tyrannid or like a big squiggly alien squid thing.
Yeah.
So it's got a hollow inside.
Yeah, it's got a hollow inside, so
and convenient windows for the mom.
Yeah. When the mom is kidnapped, she's like sucked into this arachnopod, but she doesn't get digested or anything. It's basically like a carrier vessel.
A flesh bus.
Yay.
Ew.
It is, though.
It is. There's like a whole herd of them, too.
Yeah.
So they eventually manage to get the mom back by converting Silas Charnon's house into a giant robot.
Which looks real cool.
Which looks real cool. And then Navin learns how to pilot. I do like the character of Navin a lot. He's like a pretty good little brother, honestly.
Yeah.
I think probably like he and Emily are bonded by family drama, but like he hardly ever argues with her. It's kind of like a unique brother-sister dynamic where they get on each other's nerves a little bit, but they genuinely care about each other. And there's so many instances where Navin is determined to chase after Emily because he doesn't want her to face things alone. Emily's whole journey is that she ends up being slowly pulled away from her support system. She's really close with her mom and her brother, and then slowly she realizes, like, I'm on a journey by myself. My mom is not a stonekeeper. My brother is not a stonekeeper. They don't understand what I'm going through. And so that kind of contributes a little bit to her kind of eventual, spoiler alert, corruption.
Face heel turn.
Yeah. Emily's whole motivation as a character is to protect her family. She's not a stonekeeper for the power, but the stone can offer her the power that she needs to get her family home safe. There's also the Elf King's son, which is Dark Elf Prince Zuko. He even has a scar.
A thinner scar.
A thinner scar, yeah, but it's like a scar.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting thing is the Elf King's face is not shown for a long time, very similar to how Fire Lord Ozai's face is not shown, although that was more of a stylistic. Zuko views his father as like this faceless, powerful entity. But yeah, there are similarities. The elf prince's name is Trellis. He is sent to retrieve Emily. And the reason why he chases after Emily is he knows that the Elf King wants to use Emily to be like his next vessel or something. And initially, Trellis is jealous of Emily. He's like, I'm the son. Why is my father picking this random girl from the human world?
Trelly is jelly.
Yeah.
He wants to be possessed?
Yeah, well, like, his story is kind of complicated where it's like partially he wants to win his father's approval and then quickly realizing, oh, my father is
A psychopath?
Yes. Well, actually, it's revealed his father is not his father anymore.
Oh.
In book 3, which is another reason why I was like, maybe you guys should read book 3, but oh well. In book 3, Trellis goes into kind of his relationship with his father a little bit, and he says that he always wondered why his father wears this mask. And so he tells the story where one day he sneaks into his father's chambers and sees him take off the mask. It is his father, but it's like his father's face frozen in time is how he describes it.
Whoa.
And then his father's skin is gaunt and gray. So basically, his father is a walking corpse.
So
And
the
the stone
stone
has taken over.
That's pretty
So
cool.
Trellis's motivation turns from kind of wanting to help his father to basically, I mean, he wants to help his father, but in the sense of like,
Let him finally die.
my father is no longer my father, so I need to stop whatever is puppeteering my father's body.
Some interesting implications and details in relation to the Elf King, just whatever the character is, even in book 2 here. Because when Emily and some of her friends are going off to find the cure for the poison that the arachnopod pierced her mother with, much like How to Train Your Dragon plot, there is a poison plot in this one.
But the solution is not a potato.
It's a fantasy fruit.
Yes.
From a talking tree.
From a talking tree. They don't last long.
That made me sad.
Yeah.
That was sad,
They get burned down. The elves burn them down. Our main characters burn them. No.
Whoa.
The elves burn them down, and they chase Emily and her friends and nearly do them in, specifically this one elf baddie, Luger, who, to make the Avatar references even fiercer, is like the Admiral Zhao character
Yes.
to Prince Trellis's Zuko, the more trusted stooge of the Elf King, who tries to take Trellis out of the picture. He claims for his own good, just because he thinks Trellis is just going to mess everything up, and goes after Emily himself. And Trellis runs in at the end and gets in a few good hits to help Emily. And then Emily, with the help of Navin and the giant robot house, Emily uses the power of the amulet to supercharge the house, and they have a giant robot fight with Luger. Luger, normally the size of a standard elf, says to Trellis, "Your father didn't teach you everything." And then he uses, I guess, his stone's power, because he's also...
So he basically corrupts himself.
Yeah.
He chooses to be corrupted to turn into this giant, powerful version of himself. And this is what is described happened to the Stonekeepers during this great war against the elves. Yeah.
That was an interesting thing for me. The idea that we're introduced to earlier on by one of Emily's friends, Leon, who I guess we'll talk about a little more, is that when the Stonekeepers, who had these amulets, became corrupted, it was described as cataclysm. But under the rule of the Elf King, it's just an extra special technique. It's your final form that you can bust out in a fight and turn you into a giant hulking version of yourself, which already didn't look too good. Let's be real. The elves in this universe, you might be thinking of fantasy elves.
Yeah, these elves are a little crunchy.
Yeah, they're kind of goblin.
They're a little moldy.
Yeah, it's very pallid complexion, very
Like a pale purple.
Pale purple. All of them sharp teeth. All of them super very skin-ish.
Yeah.
They're just not a single hair on them, as I can recall.
I think weird purple goblin is very accurate.
Yeah, and their eyes, their pupils are, their eyes are big and yellow, and their pupils are the thinnest possible slits, thinnest possible vertical slits. So they already look like they're having a bad time, just existing, to be honest. Zuko, you can look at the actual Zuko and be like, I can easily sympathize with him. Look at that brooding face, that mop of hair. Look at that poor Prince boy. But Prince Trellis, he looks like every day for him is just kind of a difficult time.
He's going through it.
He's going through it.
But Emily ends up shattering Luger's amulet. When you break a Stonekeeper's amulet, it's almost like you destroy a part of their soul. What happens in book 3, a little preview for you guys.
Ooh.
Luger does not die. He's still alive. He survives, but he's become a much...
He's corrupted?
Diminished?
No. He's a much meeker version of himself.
Oh.
Yeah. So he turns from being the Admiral Zhao to, he kind of
Admiral Cowed.
Yeah.
Boo.
I am become Casey.
Yeah. He becomes almost he looks a lot older, so he's almost he looks like Trellis's grandpa in a way.
Oh, interesting.
He just becomes a droopier version of himself. He wears a blanket over his shoulders and he's just weak. And then he starts saying these things I really can't recall what my life was like when I was younger. Or he has some fuzzy memories. And we later find out Luger is Trellis's brother.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a nice plant for it because the Elf King sends an assassin after Emily and her friends. And also Trellis. And the goal is you better bring her back to me. And the assassin is very confident in himself. He's I'll never fail. Emily and her friends take refuge in a city. They manage to escape before the guards catch them, but the people who help them, they get their memories pulled out of them by this machine that the assassin has.
Oh.
There's a lot of interesting technology in this world, but the machine basically has the ability to extract all of your memories, and it's a horrible torturous procedure that apparently it'll take years to recover from. So it's kind of implied that that's something that happened to Luger. Because then when he meets Luger later on, he mentions, the Elf King asked me to wipe your memories. Don't you remember that you're Trellis's brother? Blah, blah.
What a combination of sentences. Yeah. I wiped your memories. Don't you remember?
That's not how exactly he says it.
I'm sure, yeah.
But that's kind of the general impression is like, haha, I can reveal this dark past that you had because I know everything. So Luger is Trellis's brother, and so the two of them end up allying with Emily, although it's kind of a tenuous allyship because Emily doesn't really trust the elves still, and a lot of people don't trust these elves. Even though they've helped them fight off monsters, they're still like, you guys are still elves. We don't know what to think of you.
Elvish royalty, too.
Yes, elvish royalty.
Is there a time skip between 2 and 3?
No.
Okay. I looked at the cover of 3, and Emily looks distinctly older. So I was wondering if there's like passage of time or...
It may just be trauma.
Oh.
Yeah. There are passages of time later on, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Not early on, though. The only time skip early on is between when Emily's father died and when she gets older. This is another reason why I love these books so much is you can see and like kind of hear her personality change in the way that she talks. She gains a lot of confidence. Like the amulet gives her the confidence that she didn't have as a young kid recovering from watching her father die before her eyes. But she becomes more assured of herself. She becomes more of a leader. And so I think some of that comes through in just the way that she is drawn. She actually like goes through quite a lot between books 1 and 3 and 4. So
guess we should have read books 3 and 4.
And 5
and
for good
6
measure, and 6.
7 and 8 and 9 just came out, so we might as well.
Yeah. We should have contacted the author and been like, listen up, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to need an advance copy of 9. Thank you very much.
I actually did meet the author at Comic-Con
snap.
a few years ago. I was really awkward. Like, I'm really bad at meeting people that I admire, but I did get a signed poster from him, so that was cool. He drew a little misket on the autograph. So
Did you tell him that you were Emily?
No. Definitely not. Can you imagine if I walked up and was like, hello, I made an unauthorized, or I participated in an unauthorized reproduction of your work?
This series is everything.
It is
fantasy, kaiju versus mech fights, fox people. Is everyone just a human turning into animals? Is that what they are?
So this is some interesting lore that we encounter in the first big town that Emily and Navin visit with their robot friends. Because up to this point, they haven't met any other humans besides their great-grandfather. And the rest are all robots. And so when they get there, I think it's Misket who says, like, don't stare at the people too long. You're going to be surprised, but just try not to look at them. They enter the village, and it becomes quickly apparent why he said that. All the people in this town are like, what is it? Anthropomorphic animals?
Yeah.
But it's revealed that there's like a curse on this village.
It's like a full city.
Yeah, like a city, yeah. Everyone there is slowly turning into animals. And eventually they'll just become fully animal, I guess.
Like not even well, I don't know, sapient, whatever. Like they'll be full-on animals, not just people who look like animals?
Yeah, so we get glimpses of the various stages. For example, they go to the doctor, and the doctor, I think he's like a mouse or something, but he's like fully like covered in fur. He has the face of a mouse. He has ears, a nose, everything. But he's seeing this patient. It's kind of funny. He looks at him, he's like, yep. It looks like you're turning into a slug. And the guy, like, you look at him, he's like, he looks fully human except for his eyes, which are turning into, like, the eye stems of a slug.
That's super unfortunate. Out of all the animals, sorry,
the doctor's like, I can give you some medicine to slow the progression, but it's inevitable because of this curse. And also be sure to avoid salt. You see, like, in the city, there's some people who, like, maybe just have some ears, a tail here and there, but there's also, like, some people who are, again, like the doctor, fully covered in fur. We meet Leon Redbeard, who is a fox man, and at first, they're very suspicious of him because he seems like kind of like one of those bounty hunter types, and he's like, listen, if you need a bodyguard, I can help you. Emily sees him help out some of the townspeople, and so she sees that he's actually a pretty nice guy. And so she tells Misket, like, I think we should like hire him. And Mystic's like, no, we don't need him.
Also, they don't have any money.
Yeah, they don't have any money. So
He's very forward. He's like, please hire me. I will help you. I'll just do it for free. Hey, come. I'm just going to come with you.
yeah. So Leon keeps showing up and he's like, I was a friend of your great-grandfather's. It's my duty to help you as this stonekeeper that everyone's been waiting for, and it's his job to take Emily to Cielus, which is this mysterious city that disappeared a long time ago, but that's where the stonekeepers were trained. That's where the Stonekeeper Council convened and lived, and so his job is to bring Emily there, and that's kind of where the second book ends.
Was his dad also a fox? So it's like hereditary?
I think it's partially hereditary, but potentially, depending on when you were born during the transformation, you could have been born fully human. Because when they eventually get to Cielus, they say, oh, we have your name on the roster, but it didn't say you were a fox. And he's like, oh, it's probably you have like an outdated version of it from before I turned into a fox. So I don't know if it was... Maybe his father was still fully human and then he grew up being human and then slowly turned into a fox. It's kind of vague a little bit in like the details of how fast you transform and whatnot.
Dang. That's rough.
Yeah. All those inhabitants seem very chill about that. I mean, I guess it's one thing to be chill if you just turn to an animal and then you're still yourself, but in a kind of different form for the rest of your life. It's a whole nother thing if you turn into an animal and then slowly you just like lose your level of human self-awareness.
I'm trying to remember because maybe it isn't like human self-awareness. It's just that like, I think the mental part of the transformation is a lot slower than the physical. So I think these people have kind of just accepted it's a part of life. Like one day I'm going to wake up and I might have ears.
More ears.
Yeah. But the slug thing is really unfortunate. Like of all the animals you could have become, I don't think I would pick a slug.
Yeah.
Real bummer.
I mean, Leon Redbeard is a pretty cool fox. So, like, you know, I could do that. But yeah, the world building in this world is really cool.
There's also Sully from Monsters, Inc. You remember, like, the blue, I guess maybe it's supposed to be like
he had
a
horns,
bison?
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he's bipedal.
Yeah.
He's like blue with horns, and he's like, I forget his name. But I saw him, and I was like, it's Slim Sully.
This is when we start seeing a bit of what Navin's eventual character development is going to be.
Yeah, I'm guessing like a mechanic pilot kind of a deal.
Yeah, he becomes like really good with technology. He has like a natural adeptness at just piloting any like motorized thing. So he pilots the house. Later on, he pilots one of the airships.
They blame it on video games, don't they?
Yeah.
they kind of, luckily, they sidestep it a little bit because Emily's like, this isn't like video games. And Evan's like, no, it's not just video games. I think I can actually do it.
Yeah. I think he's just like a really smart kid.
He's incredibly competent for a tiny little child.
I know, yeah.
And very self-aware. He's like the first person, I think. Granted, there weren't a whole lot of people around at that time, but he was the first person to like talk to Emily and be like, I don't trust the stone.
Yeah.
I don't think you should lean too hard into this stone.
That's, at the very beginning when she first sees the amulet, he's like, I don't think you should touch it.
And then later when she has to accept its power, he's like, this feels like we're getting more and more involved in something that we do not want to get involved in.
Yeah.
And you're like, attaboy, Navin.
Eventually, when the mom recovers, she also is kind of along for the ride, but she's like fully like, Emily, we got to get out of here. But at this point, Emily knows that she can't leave. The amulet will not let her leave. Even if they found a way home, it would be either her mom and her brother go without her, which they would never do, or probably the amulet would take over or do whatever it took to keep Emily in Eladia. But the mom is kind of funny because Navin and Emily are still in the mode where they're like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, oh my gosh. And at one point, like Leon takes Emily to a bar to get information. And Karen, I think her name is Karen. The mom, the mom is like, my kids are not going in a bar. And then Leon's like, fine, Navin will stay outside. Emily, you're coming with me. She's just always worrying about her kids, but she's great. She's a great mom.
It's fun to see the mom come back a little earlier than perhaps a different version of the plot might have brought her back in. She becomes the initial MacGuffin of, I gotta get my mom back. And then they get her back, and the thrust of the story becomes, okay, I have to get a handle on everything that's happening in this fantasy world now that I'm a stonekeeper. And the mom gets to be a character.
Yeah.
And not just like a target on the narrative wall.
Yeah. And also not just like
An unconscious body.
Yeah, getting pulled around.
I gotta say, I do like Emily's characterization in terms of the way in which she quickly gets a handle on things, even if she's in situations in which perhaps she's liable to make self-isolating choices, she's still very much cognizant, as much as she can be, of the forces at play and their effect and focus on her. Like, there's a moment where they're trying to go up that mountain to get the cure for her mom. And they go to the entrance and it's just chock-a-block full of dynamite.
Yeah, who put that? I mean, I know who put that in there, but like the mechanics of shoving a giant bag of dynamite perfectly fitting into this hole.
And, Leon tells us, we put that there so no one would try to go up the mountain and hurt themselves. And you're like, wow, they were really serious about no one going up this mountain.
I mean, technically he was right, because as soon as they remove the barrier at the entrance, the elves literally come in and burn down the forest.
Yeah, but there's what was it? Because Leon tells Emily, like, this is what I was trying to tell you about training. We have to get you good at handling the power of the amulet so that you don't injure whatever, because the way the amulet's power kind of manifests, it manifests a number of different ways, but it kind of turns into these energy tendrils that can grasp things or handle them, but it's also easy
I thought it was so cool as a kid. I still think it's cool.
It's super cool. It's very easy for the power to essentially burn things.
Yeah.
Just
because it's basically
it.
like a laser, but it could be like a protective like force field type of thing.
Yeah.
Or it could literally like zap things.
So, of course, if you're going to use the power of the amulet to take the dynamite out, you got to have a real handle on it so that you don't laser a stick of dynamite and then cause this gigaton explosion of dynamite. There's this process where Leon's putting her through a little bit of a test, pick up this seed without burning it. And the sequence transitions into the stone talking to Emily and trying to convince her, you don't need your friends. You like the power, right? We can do whatever we want without them. They'll slow you down. And Leon's little text bubbles become just kind of scribbles. And Emily's just listening to the stone. And you see her doing more and more advanced things much faster than Leon's keeping up with. And she lifts up a larger seed and then lifts up a giant log. And Leon's like, oh, and then she drops it right near where Leon was. He has to duck out of the way. And the whole time her eyes are kind of a little aglow with the power. And the stone's just talking to her and she's not responding. And you're wondering, is something happening here? And then she turns and she just lifts the whole thing of dynamite out of the cave entrance and drops it aside. And the stone is basically like, what say you? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
I don't accept the power. I don't accept, I'm not giving into the stone. I have my friends and my family, and I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So she's, got a handle on it, but at the same time, she's still very closed off. It's not like she is, communicating with Leon during that moment of, the stone's talking to me, but I think I got it. She's just going through the motions. And it's very easy, what you talk about, Victoria, about how her arc in the future becoming more and more separating herself from her family and her friends. It's very easy to see, even in these initial pages, how she is very capable, but at the same time, she's trapped by her impulse and sort of predetermined behavioral patterns to just wall off a bit and try and handle things herself.
Yeah. She kind of wrestles with the voice for a good amount of time. And most of the time she's able to kind of hold off. It just continuously kind of tempts her and is like, can give you a lot of power.
Again, why would you give your seat of governance to people with these magic rocks that are constantly trying to corrupt them?
It's a magical world. It's either that or people who turn into animals in 20 years' time.
I mean, I would prefer that, honestly.
You know what? Yeah, that actually sounds, because hard set term limits.
Yeah, I agree. I really, really like how the power is illustrated as kind of these tendrils or waves of White's energy. I think it's very unique.
And how they have to focus it through an implement.
Yeah. And then it doesn't work all that well because the implement shatters at one point or it burns away.
Yeah.
The staff burns away, I think.
Does it? It might. Or maybe it breaks when she's fighting Luger.
Yeah. But I think she manages to I don't know, maybe she gets another stick or something. I don't remember that specific detail.
I guess that's the use of choosing a stick as your implement. Yeah. They're all over the dang place.
But I do like the image of using an implement to physically manifest your power. Because it is the abilities are kind of more mental. It's kind of the idea of like your powers are only limited by your mind.
Yeah.
So anything you can come up with, you can probably do with the amulet. So like that's why Emily can very easily pick up the powers of the amulet because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just like you have powers. You can make yourself float. You can protect yourself with like a protective bubble. You can pick things up. You can grab things. You can zap things. Like really, you can do anything. The staff is mainly just a way for her to focus that energy rather than kind of going all over the place.
Like a physical tether.
Yeah.
So that it's not just wild tendrils of lightning just smacking everything around.
I'm trying to find some of the Stonekeeper lore in this book, but there's so many pages.
Victoria's just like finger tap
Furiously
scrolling through.
scrolling.
Yeah. Whoa. Those are some elves, huh?
No, they're a different type of creature.
Victoria's showing us a picture of what I thought. This tells you as much as you need to know about how terrible the elves look as normal. We're looking at gray. I don't even know what to call. It's
they're like the traditional gray alien, except they're ripped as hell. They have giant venom-esque teeth and eyes and pointed ears and blue clawed hands, and they're just all over each other. There's tentacles coming out of something.
They have like a tail.
A tail.
And their spine is poking out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would say cross the Giger alien with an alien gray, like the classic alien gray, and then put all that into the corrupted form of a mouse, of a hairless mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Book 4 gets wild. Book 4 was when everything changed for me as a young reader, where I was
Oh.
like mind blown by just everything that happened.
Like lore-wise or character-wise?
Lore-wise,
all of it?
you get a lot more lore about Stonekeepers. And then I think I remember when I first got into the series, like book 4 was all that was out by the time I like finished reading. So I waited a long time for book 5, which gets even deeper and it's so good. I'm so excited for the conclusion of this series because it's like, honestly, most of my young adult to adult life has been the timeline of this book series coming out. So I think it'll be really cool to see how it turns out. Anyways, I'm still trying to find... Oh, the creatures that we were talking about are called a gruul. Gruul? It's Groul.
Oh,
Growl?
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 This is like Gorl.
Growl.
Gorls. Growls? Growls?
I think Growl. Growl is what I'm going with. Because other pronunciations I'm not a huge fan of, but Growl
feels right.
Growl feels right.
Well,
Growl.
the point is,
Growl.
listener, you can type in your search engine of choice, Groul amulet, and see what it is we were looking at there.
Real spooky.
Real spooky.
This is vaguely related, Victoria, but I'm curious if your parents had any opinions of you spending so much time reading a graphic novel as a kid.
Not really.
Spoken
Okay.
like someone who's parents.
I haven't read a graphic novel in a really long time.
I
but
read
there's a reason for
so
that.
many graphic novels. I don't think so because I read so much as a kid anyways that they did not care.
Fair enough.
Valid.
Yeah, I think... I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't think my parents... I mean, I might not be remembering correctly, but I don't think they ever were like, don't read graphic novels. It's not real reading or whatever. My brother and I read a lot of graphic novels. We were big graphic novel fans. Actually, I think the way that I discovered Amulet is I actually discovered an anthology series that the author of Amulet, Kazuki Buishi, helped put together. He and a group of other graphic novel artists created an anthology series called Flight. And there are a bunch of like kind of short stories in graphic novel form. They're really great. I highly recommend this series.
Flight.
Yeah, it's called Flight. There's also a smaller version called Explorer that's, I think, more geared towards kids. But Flight is a little, like, slightly more adult, some more mature themes and whatnot. But honestly, like, I would read those, and then if I love that particular graphic novel artist's style or tone and voice, I would look up what else they did.
Oh, snap. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Kazuki Buishi's art style for me is very distinctive. So anytime I see it, I was like, oh, it's that guy. He wrote this like web series called Copper. It's kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes type thing. It's really cute. If you look it up, there's like a little bit on the internet on his website, I think. So
Was Amulet ever released on the internet as like a kind of webcomic-y thing?
no, it's
'Cause
purely graphic novel.
I've definitely seen Pink Bunny Robot around on the internet in a lot of like sidebar ads and stuff. I don't know why.
Maybe. Well, here's my thing. I don't understand why Amulet hasn't been adapted into anything yet. Why is there no animated series or movie or something of this book series yet? Because again, I've been like rereading this since I was young, but the other day when I was rereading, I was like, this is like very similar to like the Owl House and to Avatar: The Last Airbender and to like a lot of these different, or like Voltron and stuff. Like it has all these elements and it's so vibrant and beautiful visually. I think it should be made into an animated series, but
It hits a certain demographic that the audience is very much there for.
Yeah.
There is very clearly a need for this kind of story, but I think partially because it is a graphic novel and it's harder to distribute like freely over the internet, probably hasn't reached that level of
I don't
popularity.
know, but a lot of people know and love this book series. I mean, I guess like I don't really have a good sense of like comparatively, like if you compared Amulet to like Percy Jackson, like what the numbers are, but
I mean, it took long enough for, well, I guess it's not a perfect example because Percy Jackson was adapted relatively quickly into a movie, but it took long enough for it to find a new life as a show here. And it, took long for Infinity Train, despite its popularity, to become a show.
Some things just take a while.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll adapt Amulet.
That would be cool.
And we know exactly who'll do the voice of Emily.
Oh, I did find the page that I was looking for.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is some of the history of the stone and the Stonekeepers. Our Stonekeeper powers originated from a single source, cut from a gem that was discovered by the early settlers of this planet. Realizing that the Mother Stone contained tremendous energy, the settlers buried it deep beneath their first city, Cielus, the ancient capital of Windsor. The original Guardian Council was created to govern use of the Mother Stone. Small bits of the powerful gem were cut and provided to the early settlers of Eladia to help them develop our world. Centuries passed, and hundreds of Stonekeepers were born. With their powers, they built the foundation for the great nations of Eladia and accelerated the development of cities across the globe. Of course, more than a few Stonekeepers abused the immense power that the stones provided them and waged war on other Stonekeepers for control of the nations. Many Stonekeepers perished in these battles, and their stones perished with them.
This raises so many questions.
Yeah.
First of all, planet. So they came from space.
The fact that we first entered this world through a portal in a basement makes me wonder Hollow Earth theory, especially because the place in which we enter is very cavernous in such a way that it looks like just a combination of caves.
Yeah. For me, it was very much like alternate reality, fantasy realm. But this takes it into like a sci-fi sort of like, this could be anywhere. This could be the same universe, other side of galaxy sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool.
I mean, my opinion on fantasy is the bigger you go in scope, the more it just turns into science fiction.
That's true.
Which is so fun. Did I mishear? Was it the first settlers of that planet found a stone of the world? Of that planet? Or did the stone also come from beyond that world?
The stone was cut from a gem that was discovered on the planet.
Okay.
So it is of this world.
So the stones of the Stonekeepers are sentient, and their association with a certain lineage is passed down from generation to generation, which implies that this giant mother stone is also sentient, I guess.
Well, the stones clearly have a will.
The stones have a will, and if they're cut from the big stone, then probably the big stone has some sort of, I guess, goal or ambition, because the small stones certainly do.
I can't remember actually if they go into the Mother Stone very much.
It's the sort of thing.
Wait. The first settlers, as in like the humans, as in like the same humans that end up getting like cursed when they live in that like city for too long? Were humans settlers on that world and the elves are from there originally?
Well, this doesn't say anything about if they were human or not.
Oh.
It just says the first settlers
of this planet.
So these could be like multiple alien species.
Sure.
All living together. And it's just been so long that their history's been lost. And they've turned their spaceships into giant walking robot houses.
Centuries have passed. Basically what happened is like the stone initially is like giant, right? By the time we actually see the Mother Stone, it's this like really small.
That's cool.
It's only big enough that like maybe one or two more amulets could be made from it.
Oh, so this is a limited resource.
Yeah, because when they die, their stones fade.
Yeah.
That's cool. I really like that.
Wow.
Yeah. The stones will fade unless it's passed down. Or if the amulet is destroyed.
Dang.
And that's why at this point in the story, stone keepers are very rare. Or at least only like the people in power really have the stones, which I guess maybe was always the case, but yeah.
But the number of stones you could continue to make is certainly much more limited.
Yeah, they can't make any more stones, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder the stones are so angry. They were like all cozy in one nice big rock, and suddenly they're all being chipped up and used and getting shattered, and they're all like, what's happening?
You know what? Hey, you listen, just destroy it all. Just destroy all of it, and then bury me in the ground where I can sleep. That's some deep lore.
Yeah.
That's some of the deep lore.
Literally.
Yeah, all of the like stone and amulet lore in this series is so interesting, and like a little bit is revealed in each book. I love this book series. It just makes me happy.
I'm excited to read more and also excited for the release of the 9th book.
Yeah.
Woo! Is it the last one?
It's the last one, which is another crazy thing. It's like this series that has been going on for as long as I can remember, really, is gonna end soon. Like, it's kind of like how when Arthur ended, I was like, what do you mean Arthur ended? Arthur was eternal.
Impossible. I can't stop making this thing I liked from my youth.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm really excited to kind of see what the conclusion of Emily's story will be, especially how at least the 7th book ended up. Because I realized I haven't read the 8th book yet.
Oh.
Yeah. As I was doing research the other day and downloading the books from the library, I was like, oh, there's this 8th book that I haven't read.
This is great. I think this has happened a few times where we have like rediscovered series that we were very into and then dropped.
Yeah.
And now we're coming back to them, and it's this interesting loop closing that's starting to happen for us, just like the three of us, and maybe for the listener at home as well. Write in, tell us, have your loops closed recently?
I think the reason it happened with this particular series is because after the 7th book came out, that was around the time I was like in college, so I didn't have regular access to a library that carried the Amulet books. And so I was like, oh, I think the next book is coming out, but maybe I'll buy it at the bookstore or something. And then I kind of just forgot about it until the other day. And now I can read it on my ebook from the library because libraries are great.
Visit your local library.
Say hi to all the librarians. Tell them we sent you. They won't know who we are.
Tell them to listen to this.
Tell them, please.
But yeah, I'm glad that you guys also enjoyed Amulet. And I'm excited to discuss more of it with you guys, especially after book 4.
Yes.
Things happen in book 4 that I forgot. Well, I slightly remembered, but nothing can capture the feeling of reading it for the first time as a kid and being like, whoa.
It's okay. We'll give it the warrior cats treatment.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it.
Until next time, never trust a rock, I think, or just strange jewelry is a common trope in fantasy. Don't trust them. If they start talking to you, just drop and walk away.
Until next time, be careful what jewelry you put on your body.
Until next time, if you hear the rock talk, drop and walk.
Hey! Amazing.
Thank you for listening to Nostalgia Club. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Twitter @_Nostalgia Club and on Instagram @Nostalgia Club Podcast. Leave a comment, give us a rating, and subscribe. You can also send us an email with your suggestions for what we should review next at nostalgiaclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, calling Casey Wayland. We are calling him, but we recorded the episode a while ago, so my memory's a little fuzzy. That's okay. He's also sick today, so we'll see if he actually answers. Oh, he might be teaching. Because it's Thursday.
It is.
It is.
When's his class?
I don't know, but they're doing a final today.
Oh, if he's remote.
At the tone, please record your message.
I guess I'll
when
leave a
you've
message.
finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Casey. I'm sorry. I forgot you were teaching today, and also hope you're feeling better. I know it's been a rough couple of weeks. Hey, you ever heard about this graphic novel called Amulet? It's got this young girl who tragically watched her father fall off a cliff, and she's been traumatized. But it's okay because her mother has also been traumatized. But it's okay because her brother's also been traumatized. And they have to move to a big house in the middle of nowhere for financial reasons. But she finds a cursed amulet that can talk to her and gives her magical powers. And then her mom gets kidnapped by the worst thing you've ever seen. It eats her, but she's fine. And so she has to chase this big bug creature into the world of Amulet. And she's voiced by Victoria Cheng. And oh man, there's an elf named Zuko and a fox who's there to help also, but there wasn't a fox at first, but now there's a fox. And they kill the trees. They're all dead, but the fruits are also dead. And the house is a robot. And the old man dies, but the little bunny rabbit robot is traumatized. And then she turns evil. Hope you're having a great day, Casey Wayland. Great if we're alive. Thank you for my job.
What was that?
I think Gio just gave up about 15 seconds in.
My mind went blank and I was like, what happened?
It sounded like you were like drunk calling him talking about Amulet.
Thank you for my job.